दो, जल्दी कर दो। अरे क्यों? अच्छा लाइव, ओके। गुड इवनिंग फ्रेंड्स। आज हम साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के थोड़े से अपडेट्स हैं, थोड़ा एनवायरनमेंट और थोड़ा मैपिंग, एनवायरनमेंट, ज्योग्राफी एंड मैपिंग। We would go through that. The fundamentals of these subjects you have already studied in great details, so you will not have to worry a lot. हम फटाफट ये जो अपडेट्स हैं ख़त्म कर लेंगे। ओके तो ये लाइव हुआ है कि नहीं, एक बार ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स मुझे बता दीजिए इफ आई एम ऑडिबल इन कमेंट्स। एक मिनट दो मुझे, मैं देखूँ लाइव। हाँ चलिए ठीक है, तो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद इट, है ना। स्पेस में हमने परसों भी कुछ कुछ चीजें करी थी, एक दो छोटे अपडेट्स और हैं। देयर वाज दिस हिंदू में ना एक आर्टिकल था पूरा अबाउट व्हाट इज किलोनोवा। डू यू रिमेंबर व्हाट इज सुपरनोवा? सुपरनोवा वाज व्हेन अ स्टार इवेंचुअली एक्सप्लोडेड। पहले स्टार का क्या होगा, स्टार विल लूज ऑल इट्स हाइड्रोजन, है ना, देन इट्स कोर विल कम टुगेदर एंड द रिमेनिंग हाइड्रोजन विल कोर वुड कोलैप्स, उसके बाद सुपरनोवा एक्सप्लोजन होगा, दैट वाज सुपरनोवा एक्सप्लोजन। Kilonova is something similar. It's also a kind of explosion which would take place when two neutron stars collide, or when one neutron star collides with a black hole. The explosion that takes place at this time will be called kilonova explosion. तो न्यूट्रॉन स्टार्स ये सब हमने पढ़ा हुआ है, यू अंडरस्टैंड ऑल दोस एस्पेक्ट्स प्रॉपर्ली। तो when would kilonova explosion take place? When two neutron stars would collide. Now, recently, scientists they have identified the system CPD 292176. What is it? It's basically a star revolving around a neutron star. So in future, this star will also convert into neutron star and it's going to collide. So this will be a kilonova explosion. तो recently discovered हुआ था, recently it was in news. We must be knowing थोड़ा सा कि what is kilonova. तो सुपरनोवा से वैसे तो विल बी एबल टू कोरिलेट, बट द आइडिया ऑफ किलोनोवा और दिस टर्म कि इट वाज इन न्यूज रिसेंटली, व्हाट इज इट अबाउट, वी शुड बी एबल टू आंसर दैट। एस्टेरॉइड 2023 BU, इट वाज आल्सो इन न्यूज रिसेंटली। क्या हुआ, जनवरी में सडनली दिस एस्टेरॉइड अपेयर, नो वन वाज ट्रैकिंग इट and suddenly it appeared and all the scientists in the world started calculating, is it going to hit Earth? But later calculations showed that it's not going to hit Earth. But appearance of this, or we not tracking this asteroid, shows that there are lots of small bodies which we are still not tracking and may become problematic in future. So this was an asteroid, truck size asteroid 2023 BU, whizzed past without incident and back out into the blackness of the space. It was identified by an amateur astronomer, Gennady Borisov. Eventually, experts using NASA Scout Impact Hazard Assessment rapidly determined that the alien visitor was coming in peace. Coming in peace matlab it is not going to collide. Now, anyways, it would not have collided much because जो इसका size है ना 3.5 meters to 8.5 meters, of this size, what would happen? When if it would have entered Earth's atmosphere, it would have got burned off. Okay. निखिल बोल रहे हैं हैप्पी बर्थडे सर। किसका बर्थडे निखिल? मेरा बर्थडे? नहीं मेरा नहीं है। अरे अरे हर रोज आप लोग कमेंट्स में ना स्पैमिंग शुरू कर देते हो किसी फालतू बात पे। मेरा बर्थडे नहीं है भाई, पढ़ाई करो। Did you understand this ये asteroid? Why was it in news? Then natural satellites and moons. Do you remember when we were studying space? मैंने बोला था Saturn has highest number of satellites. Then some student corrected. नहीं sir, Jupiter has 92 satellites. That was in January, February. As of May, Saturn again has highest number of satellite. As of May 11, Saturn has 124 satellite, Jupiter has 95, Uranus, and बाकी सबका same है. This is the number of satellites that they have. I had told you in January, February when I was covering science and tech, I had told you कि we will update in May. So as of 11th of May, this is the number कि which is the planet with highest number of satellite, Saturn. तो देखो number of satellites ऐसे vary करते हैं. मरकरी वीनस 00, अर्थ 1, मार्स 2, मार्स के बाद जुपिटर 95, सैटर्न 124, and then decrease. Uranus 27, Neptune 14, and if you'll go to Pluto, you'll find 5 of them. So Pluto is not a planet, Pluto is dwarf planet, but Pluto also has satellites. Are we getting this? Are we understanding it? So नेचुरल सैटेलाइट्स मून का ये नंबर जो चेंज हुआ है, आई वांटेड यू टू गिव एन अपडेट इन मई, तो मई में दिस इज द नंबर. न्यूज़पेपर आर्टिकल्स मोस्टली जो फरवरी तक अपडेटेड हैं, दे आर स्टिल सेइंग कि जुपिटर हैज हायर नंबर ऑफ सैटेलाइट्स, हायर नंबर ऑफ मून्स, बट इट इज दिस. ओके, यहां पे देखिए ड्वार्फ प्लैनेट्स में सबसे ज्यादा सैटेलाइट्स किसके पास हैं? प्लूटो के 5, एंड देन सम अदर सैटेलाइट्स हियर. लेट्स कम टू बायोटेक्नोलॉजी. बायोटेक्नोलॉजी में we had studied about a cow. We had studied about a cow which was genetically modified to produce animal protein. Oh, human protein. Proteins which are more suitable for human. We had talked about the fact that milk, cow milk, is produced for cow. है ना? Its protein may not be exactly what humans need. Human milk में वो होता है. But we can genetically modify the cow to produce protein which are relevant for humans. Okay. तो ऐसे ही अदर ऑर्गेनिजम्स कैन ऑल्सो बी जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड टू प्रोड्यूस सर्टेन मेडिसिनल प्रोडक्ट. उन्हें हम बोल रहे हैं फार्मास्यूटिकल्स. फार्मास्यूटिकल्स एंड दिस फार्मा ऑल्सो, FAR वाला भी. तो टर्म फार्मास्यूटिकल कम्स, अंडरस्टैंड कि एनिमल हस्बेंड्री के प्रोसेस से जब मेडिसिन आप प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो, वी आर दिस टर्म फार्मास्यूटिकल इज बीइंग यूज्ड फॉर देम. ओके, नाउ हाँ, तो goats were genetically modified, or goats are being genetically modified to produce these proteins that we need. Why goats? Why not cows? देखो, जब हम genetic modification करते हैं ना, तो what will be its impact? It would be visible in a few years when the goat actually starts reproducing and starts giving milk. In how many years can goat start reproducing? 1-2 years में. But that's not the case with cows. So goats have other advantages also. They can survive in very voile conditions, arid conditions, less resource wala conditions. So scientists have genetically modified some goats to produce certain pharmaceuticals which are important for us, which are needed for us. उसमें एक example है antithrombin 3 molecule. What is this antithrombin 3? It is the molecule which keeps our blood free of clots. हमारे ब्लड को क्लॉट फ्री रखता है. इफ दिस मॉलिक्यूल वाज नॉट देयर इन आवर ब्लड, it's naturally there. If it's not there, our blood would have easily got clotted. Or when there is absence of this, when there is deficiency of this in our body, deficiency of what? This product, antithrombin 3, then we may suffer from pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolism क्या है? आपके लंग्स में ब्लड क्लॉट हो रहा है. यहाँ पे मैंने pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolism is a blood clot that blocks and stops blood flow to an artery in the lung. Okay, this is pulmonary embolism. So people who suffer from pulmonary embolism, they have to regularly get antithrombin injections. Antithrombin is naturally there, but जिनके body में antithrombin deficiency है, they have to get this injection regularly. Right? And where do we produce this antithrombin from? We extract it from human blood only. Human blood जो लोग donate करेंगे, उससे antithrombin would be extracted and it would be given to patients. So recently what scientists did, transgenic goats were genetically modified so that इनके milk के साथ this is also getting produced. So human protein added in there so that they are producing this product. So and see the result. One goat can produce antithrombin which is equivalent to the amount of antithrombin that we would have extracted from 90,000 units of human blood. So goats genetically modified to produce various medicinal aspects. Similarly, दूसरे भी है, देखिए monoclonal antibody cetuximab, which has been approved by FDA as an anti-cancer drug against certain lung cancers, has been produced in cloned goat lines. तो goat को genetically modify करके these medicines are also getting produced. तो goats have been used for this. February में हिंदू में एक आर्टिकल था कि why specifically goats and those things. CAR T cell therapy. तो T cell therapy, CAR T cell therapy हम समझते हैं. देखो, we know T cells are our immune cells. They will fight the pathogens which come in our body, right? When cancer cells, generally our immune system is not effectively able to fight against cancer cells because वो cells अपने खुद के होते हैं, they are uncontrollably getting multiplied, right? So to treat cancer, to treat various type of cancers, we have mechanisms like surgery, where you cut and remove that portion which is cancerous. There is radiotherapy, we have studied radiotherapy where nuclear radiation is applied there, है ना? एक हमने मैकेनिज्म भी पढ़ा था, वो हाइपरथर्मिया इंड्यूस्ड, हाँ, वो हीट प्रोड्यूस हो रहा था कैंसर वाले रीजन में, एंड मैग्नेटिक हाइपरथर्मिया इंड्यूस्ड कैंसर थेरेपी, राइट? वी हैड स्टडीड दिस. तो मैग्नेटिक मटेरियल वाज प्लेस्ड इन द कैंसर पार्ट, बाहर से इट वाज कंट्रोल्ड, इट वाज शेकन so that it will produce a lot of heat, जिससे cancer things would be burned, right? That was also in a way a kind of cancer therapy. तो radiation therapy में हमने पढ़ा था nuclear science and technology. When we were talking about application of nuclear science and technology, we had talked about how various materials. अरे भाई मेरा बर्थडे नहीं है, तमाशा मत करो. It's not my birthday, I am born in September. अब जिसको लग रहा है मेरा बर्थडे, मुझे गिफ्ट भी दे जाओ. पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दो, ठीक है? नेक्स्ट आरटीएफक्यू कब? नेक्स्ट आरटीएफक्यू सैटरडे संडे हम इकोनॉमी के विल ट्राई टू सॉल्व 150 क्वेश्चंस ऑफ इकोनॉमी ऑन सैटरडे एंड संडे. मैं फ्राइडे को आपको शेड्यूल दे दूंगा कि क्या क्या करना है. टुमारो वी आर डूइंग अ 1 hour अपडेट ऑन साइंस एंड टेक ओनली. आज भी इट्स ओनली 1 hour अपडेट. A lot of factual things, इसलिए पेजेस ज्यादा लग रहे हैं, बट इट वोंट टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. तो टुमारो विल टेक अ 1 hour अपडेट ऑन साइंस टेक ओनली, जिसमें डिफेंस वाला और थोड़ा सा क्लिक केमिस्ट्री और ये चीजें रह गई है. विल डू दैट. ओके, लेट्स कम बैक टू दिस. व्हाट वर वी टॉकिंग अबाउट? रेडियोथेरेपी. तो रेडियोथेरेपी वी अंडरस्टैंड, सर्जरी वी अंडरस्टैंड. देयर इज अनदर कैंसर ट्रीटमेंट mechanism which is called systematic therapy. In systematic therapy we directly target the cancer cells. जैसे chemotherapy, where chemical therapy is given, chemicals are added to your body which can target those cancerous cells. Then इसी में आता है immunotherapy. In immunotherapy what happens is the drugs which are provided to you in this therapy, drugs bind to specific target on cancer or in immune cells that help tumor grow or spread. This method often has less side effect as impact on non-tumor cell is limited, whereas in chemotherapy what happens, those chemicals may also harm normal cells. जब आप देखोगे people who are going through chemotherapy, they face a lot of problems, है ना? Other than harming the cancer cells, those chemicals may also harm other cells. So now what is CAR T cell therapy and how would it be better? देखो CAR T cell therapy का पहले फंडा समझो. T cells are your immune system cells which will target pathogens, right? What they do is they first extract T cells from your body, they modify those T cells to target cancer cells. CAR T cell therapy mein they'll take out T cells from your body, they'll modify those T cells to target the cancer cells, and they'll also modify it to get reproduced quickly and would reinsert those T cells in your body. वो T cells आपके body में जाएंगे, it will reproduce quickly and they will target कैंसर सेल्स. तो ये तो टी सेल थेरेपी हो जाता. व्हाट इज कार हेयर? व्हाट इज CAR हेयर? राइट, कार बेसिकली रिफर्स टू चिमेरिक एंटीजन रिसेप्टर. तो इसमें क्या होता है, रिसर्चर्स मॉडिफाई दीज सेल्स, विच सेल्स? टी सेल्स in the laboratory, so that they can express specific protein on their surface known as chimeric antigen receptor. It is T cells के surface पे this protein chimeric antigen receptor produce होता है, so that जो cancer cell है उसको ये T cell target कर पाएगा. That's why CAR T cell therapy. They have an affinity for proteins on the surface of tumor cells. So this receptor which has been added on T cell, chimeric antigen receptor, has affinity for proteins on tumor cell और cancer cell. तो बेसिकली हमने अपने टी सेल्स को कार टी सेल्स बना दिया. वी हैव आल्सो गिवन इट एबिलिटी टू मल्टीप्लाई क्विकली, देन इट गोज इन योर बॉडी एंड फाइट्स द कैंसर सेल्स. दिस इज कार टी सेल therapy, and because देखो the cells are even more specific than targeted agents. Immunotherapy से भी ज्यादा specific है because it has been specifically designed for tumor cells and directly activate the patient's immune system against cancer, making this treatment more clinically effective. This is why they are called living drugs. ये कहां यूज हो रहा है? ये देखो ल्यूकेमिया के ट्रीटमेंट में या लिम्फोमास के ट्रीटमेंट में दिस थिंग इज बीइंग यूज्ड. इट इज आल्सो बीइंग यूज्ड among patients with cancers that have returned. Patients where cancer have reoccurred, वहां पे this has happened. India में the first major clinical trial showing they were effective was published a decade ago, but in 2021 first indigenously developed therapy in India was successfully performed only in 2021. तो रिसर्च वगैरह 10 साल पहले हो गया था, but first CAR T cell therapy was used in 2021. Are we getting it? Are we understanding it? Sure. So क्योंकि we have already studied genetic modification and all other things, understanding it is a cakewalk for us. Let's go to nuclear science and technology. Nuclear science and technology में ना जो फुकुशिमा डिजास्टर हुआ था, फुकुशिमा न्यूक्लियर डिजास्टर, फुकुशिमा वाज में एक न्यूक्लियर पावर प्लांट था which due to earthquake and tsunami got damaged. So a lot of radiation, nuclear material or nuclear radiation containing material had leaked there and a lot of people had to be shifted away from Fukushima nuclear power plant जो आसपास लोग रह रहे थे. तो right now that place is uninhabited. Now what the government there is planning कि they will release a lot of water, treated water in Pacific Ocean. तो यहां पे आप देखेंगे डिकमिशनिंग प्रोजेक्ट, उस फुकुशिमा न्यूक्लियर पावर प्लांट को डिकमिशन करना होगा, तो डिकमिशनिंग प्रोजेक्ट गॉट कैबिनेट अप्रूवल इन 2021 एंड could take 3 decades. Overall decommissioning would take more than 3 decades. इसमें total $76 billion would be spent, and here Japan plans that 1.2 million tons of water will be released in Pacific Ocean. देखो जापान के एक तरफ पैसिफिक ओशन है, इस तरफ what is there? Sea of Japan नहीं, ईस्ट ओकोत्स ऊपर है, हाँ सी ऑफ जापान, ओकोत्स सी ऑफ जापान, पैसिफिक ओशन नीचे ईस्ट चाइना सी है ना, फिर नीचे ताइवान, ताइवान के नीचे साउथ चाइना सी. राइट, लेट्स कम बैक टू दिस. तो दे प्लान कि ये वाटर वुड बी रिलीज्ड इन पैसिफिक. इट फॉर दिस रीजन इट वाज इन न्यूज. नाउ व्हाट इज द इशू? इज दिस वाटर ट्रीटेड? तो यस, Tokyo Electric Power Corporation, which used to run Fukushima power plant, they say that this water has been treated, the water and radioactive isotopes have been reduced. In fact, a former Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, he added in 2021 that water will be far above safety standards. जो radiation का safety standard उससे भी कहीं ज़्यादा higher safety का होगा. They are giving other reasons also. It's difficult for them to store this much of water, keep this much of water contained. Okay. Critics argue that there is no safe, but people who are opposing it, they say that there is no safe limit. Any amount of nuclear radiation that you are adding in water is problematic. And right now you may not see any impact, but this more radiation getting added in water in future may cause cancer, may cause issues, and therefore the problem. Are we getting it? And therefore they have gone against it. China, South Korea, Taiwan, the neighboring countries have also criticized it. A representative of Pacific Island Forum, the bloc of Oceania countries, including Australia, has called it simply inconceivable. The opposition is going on, but fine. We should know this a bit. So many times leukemia patients show signs of cyst formation. How does it happen, sir? Imtiaz, I'm not a doctor, bhai. Like, how would I know this? Now, unless something is in news or something is very basic, I would not know it. I'm really sorry. Aniket is asking, sir, please provide rest of the PMP mapping classes also. It will be very helpful. PMP में यार, I'll ask. I think there were only 2 mapping classes, Indian mapping वाला. We have added both of them. शशांक आप PMP 2.0 में थे ना? 2 ही mapping class थे ना? जो यूट्यूब पे वही मैपिंग। हाँ तो अनिकेत, जो पीएमपी में हमने मैपिंग की क्लासेस ली हैं 2, वो यूट्यूब पे हैं। उसके अलावा इंटरनेशनल मैपिंग की 2 क्लासेस मैंने भी यूट्यूब पे डाली हैं। ओके, लेट्स कम बैक टू हेल्थ, डिमेंशिया। लेट्स टॉक अबाउट डिमेंशिया। डिमेंशिया वी अंडरस्टैंड, जो लोग थोड़ा ओल्ड एज में चीजों को भूलने लगते हैं, तो इट इज loss of cognitive functioning. Here thinking ability, remembering ability, reasoning ability, all this keeps getting affected. So if you see people who are more than 85 years of age, around 1/3 of them are suffering from dementia. So generally old age में your brain cells are not getting reproduced properly, are not getting produced properly, उस समय आपको dementia होने के chances बढ़ जाते हैं. But please note that it's not necessary that every old age person will suffer from dementia. There are people who are in their 90s and still remember everything. Right? So dementia, though it happens mostly in the old age, but it's not in sync, मतलब directly intersect with the old age. कि old age होगा तो dementia होगा ही होगा. Okay. Now there are different forms of dementia. The most common cause is Alzheimer's disease. The most common cause of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. तो क्या causes होते हैं dementia होने के? तो when healthy neurons or nerve cells in the brain stop working and new neurons are not getting produced, sometimes genetic mutation may also be responsible for it. Responsible for what? Dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Generally what was seen was कि जब young age में dementia हो रहा था, they were mostly associated with genetic mutation. The exact cause of Alzheimer is unknown, but it was seen that the disease came up with buildup of 2 proteins, beta amyloid and the tau protein. So whenever people who are suffering from Alzheimer, it was found that in their body, these 2 proteins have been built up. These proteins are naturally produced in our body, but they have increased a lot. In people with Alzheimer, beta amyloid is usually found in large quantities outside the neurons, and this hampered the functioning of neuron. In the same way, the tau protein, beta amyloid and tau protein, tau tangles are found inside axons. हमने cells और cells type पढ़े थे, उसमें we had studied brain cells. Brain cells में we had talked about axon in this part. तो tau tangles are found inside axons, the long slender projection of neurons. So these are 2 proteins which have been seen to do what? To increase in production when people are suffering from Alzheimer's. And these 2 proteins are associated with these genes. Amyloid precursor protein, APP, presenilin, PSEN1 and presenilin 2, PSEN2. These are genes. ये genes जब आपके body, these genes are responsible for production of those 2 proteins. And when these genes are mutated, or they don't function properly, what would happen? You may suffer from excess of tau and amyloid and causing Alzheimer. So these genes are involved in producing a protein fragment called beta amyloid peptide, a precursor to previously mentioned beta amyloid. If the gene is faulty, if these genes are faulty, it can lead to an abnormal buildup of beta amyloid in the brain, a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. और जो Alzheimer's के ट्रीटमेंट की हम बातें करें, जैसे एक रिसेंटली ट्रीटमेंट अप्रूव हुआ है लीसानिमेब, we'll talk about this. It is also targeting this gene. Fine. Now, people only need one of APP, PSEN, PSEN2 to be faulty. So, which gene has to be faulty? And if any one of these genes are mutated, you may suffer from Alzheimer. There is no proven prevention mechanism for Alzheimer's, no proven prevention mechanism for dementia. But it is said that if you lead a healthy life, if you're not smoking, if you're exercising daily, तो chances of dementia happening reduces. Why would it reduce? ऐसे समझो कि if you're healthy, no, your body is functioning properly, your brain would function properly, and chances that your brain cells will deteriorate would lag a bit. Right? तो dementia होने के chances reduce हो जाते हैं. Now, recently what happened? A 19-year-old boy from China was detected with Alzheimer's. February 2023 में. He is the youngest person ever to be detected with Alzheimer's. इससे पहले youngest person था 21 years age वाला. But it has been seen that nearly all the cases of Alzheimer's disease in people younger than 30 are because of inherited faulty genes. Faulty genes they inherit, because of that they suffer from this thing, but in this child, genetic cause was ruled out. So 19-year-old child is suffering from dementia, but they don't know the cause. It was seen earlier, in earlier cases, in most of the cases, if a person was less than 30 years of age, he had inherited some mutated gene, faulty gene, because of which dementia was occurring earlier or Alzheimer's disease was occurring earlier. But in this case, they were not able to find it, and thus it wasn't news. Then this medicine, lecanemab, it gained a FDA approval for early Alzheimer's disease. It got FDA approval. You'll see this is a treatment that may moderately slow mild cognitive decline and reduce amyloid B plaques in the patient with early Alzheimer's disease. It gained accelerated approval by US FDA. Got it? Then एक और चीज था, रिसर्च फॉर अर्ली डिटेक्शन ऑफ अल्जाइमर. इंडिया में कुछ डेवलपमेंट्स हो रहे हैं. तो व्हाट इज गोइंग ऑन? देखो, अर्ली डिटेक्शन, दे आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट ट्रीटमेंट. If someone is going to suffer from Alzheimer's, उसको early detection के लिए they have developed a GPU based machine learning algorithm. So what have they done under it? Now understand this. Your brain is made up of nerve cells, neurons, right? उनमें signals are getting transmitted regularly. So if your brain cells in future are going to get deteriorated, it would not happen कि कल 12 बजे से वो deteriorate होंगे. Their functioning will start getting impacted earlier. Its impact on you would be visible a few years later, but their functioning may start getting impacted earlier. So under this initiative, they are measuring that, how the transmission of signals and other things are getting affected, and through that they are trying to develop mechanism for early detection of Alzheimer's. Do we understand this? ओके, तो एक सवाल ऐसा आ सकता है कि मशीन लर्निंग एल्जाइमर्स के अर्ली डिटेक्शन में रोल प्ले कर सकता है कि नहीं? हाँ, भी एक क्लियर कट एग्जांपल. ओके, नाउ एक और न्यूज था फरवरी 2023 में, अल्ट्रावायलेट यूवी नेल पॉलिश ड्रायर्स लीड टू सेल डेथ एंड कैंसर causing mutation, cancer cause, it can lead to cell death and it can cause cancer causing mutations. तो यूवी नेल पॉलिश ड्रायर्स, आप कई लोगों ने वो देखा होगा इन सैलून्स और इन वो मेकअप कराने कहाँ जाते हैं, सैलून्स ही बोलते हैं उसे, ब्यूटी पार्लर्स. इफ यू गो टू ब्यूटी पार्लर्स दे विल अप्लाई नेल पॉलिश एंड कुछ जेल वगैरह चीजें भी, एंड देन एक ड्रायर होगा. अंडर द ड्रायर दे कीप योर हैंड फॉर सम टाइम. From that dryer, that ultraviolet rays are emitted to dry it and to increase the shine in the gel that is applied. But a recent study in US have found that this may be a cause of cancer. A study by University of California, San Diego has cautioned against the use of ultraviolet nail polish dryer for gel manicures as it poses a long-term health risk. It has highlighted a number of both melanoma and non-melanoma cases either on the nail or on the back of the hand after the use of nail polish dryers thought to be caused by UV radiation. तो back of the hand, आप जब nail polish लगा के ऐसे ही सुखा रहे होगे, तो back of the hand और nails में these kind of cancer cases have been seen. It is found that UV light emitting from these devices leads to cell death and cancer causing mutation in human cells. Factual update है, but सुना रहेगा ना, you may when you get a question कि इनमें से क्या क्या cancer cause करता है, so you'll be this does this. We have to know more and more of these examples. Robotics, biohybrid robot with the help of locust antenna. Do we understand what locust is? टिड्डा. लॉकडाउन में बहुत सारे आ गए थे, वेजिटेशन वगैरह डिस्ट्रॉय. डू वी ऑल अंडरस्टैंड लोकस्ट? नाउ लोकस्ट्स, नो, दे हैव दिस एंटीना व्हिच इज वेरी effective in identifying smells of different things. So what scientists have done is they've used that antenna in this robot for smell detection. Israel mein they have developed this robot where antenna of locust has been used, and with the help of that they're able to effectively detect smell. On the four-wheeled robot, the researchers placed the insect's antenna between two electrodes, then send signals as a response to nearby odor. This antenna sends signal different signal with respect to different smell that it hears. Each scent has a unique signature which with machine learning the robot's electronic system can identify. In future they would be using these kind of robots in space also, and thus can be useful. कुछ miscellaneous updates हैं. Medium density amorphous ice. अच्छा, first let's understand when we hear the word ice, हमें क्या ध्यान में आता है? Ice cubes, है ना? Ice cubes on the rocks whiskey पी रहे हो, उसमें ice cubes पड़े हुए, but they are crystalline form. They are crystalline form of ice. Or when we look at बर्फ की सिल्लियां, that's also crystalline form of ice, right? But in universe, when you go to universe, most of the ice is not in crystalline form. It is in this amorphous ice. Amorphous ice is basically powdery ice. It's not. It has not formed crystal, though it is ice at a temperature below 0 degrees Celsius. But it is amorphous. It is in powder. But on Earth, most of the ice that we see is in crystalline form, right? Recently, scientists have developed a medium density amorphous ice. How did they develop it? The researchers have employed a process called ball milling to vigorously shake ordinary ice together with steel balls in a container cooled at a temperature of minus 200 degrees Celsius. You see this? इसमें crystalline ice है. This crystalline ice along with this balls were shaken vigorously at a temperature of minus 200 degrees Celsius. Minus 200 degrees Celsius पे they remain ice. But with this process, they no more remain crystal. They no more remain crystal, they become powdery, the amorphous ice. Are we understanding it? What is meant by amorphous ice? Ordinary ice is crystalline in nature. Amorphous ice water molecules are in a disorganized form resembling a liquid. जैसे crystals में they are bonded together, the atoms are bonded together, the molecules are bonded together. In powdery form completely, or in water they are not that bonded. The researchers hypothesized that the type of forces that they brought to bear on ordinary ice in the laboratory might exist on ice moons like Jupiter's Europa or Saturn's this moon. And that's why there, the kind of conditions, minus 200 degrees Celsius, extreme pressures and all, which they brought for amorphous ice to be formed, might be present in these ice containing moons of Jupiter and all. Scientists have identified 20 different forms of crystalline ice and 3 forms of amorphous ice. So on Earth we have crystalline ice. We have found 20 different forms of crystalline ice and 3 forms of amorphous ice. जो 3 forms of amorphous ice में, उसमें low density was discovered in 1930s, high density was discovered in 1980s, and अभी हमने क्या किया है? Medium density amorphous ice बनाया है. Now please note, virtually almost all ice in the universe is amorphous. When we talk about universe, almost all ice is amorphous. Very few of it is crystalline. For being crystalline, you have to be in a place जहां पे you have liquid water which crystallizes into ice, amorphous ice. Oh, sorry, crystallize. जहां पे आपको liquid water की feasibility नहीं है, most of the places in the universe, there what do we have? Amorphous ice. So virtually all ice on Earth, but in Earth, most of the ice exists in crystalline form, but amorphous ice is by far the most common form of ice in space. This may be the form in which ice may exist in solar system's icy moon. Ball milling was the mechanism which was used here, and 8 grams of medium amorphous ice was produced. I hope we understand this. Okay, then evolution of human beings. How have we come to the situation we are in today? So देखो, सबसे पहले what developed were hominids. Hominids were living organisms which looked like humans. They were not humans. They looked like humans. So the earliest hominid was Australopithecus. They lived around 40 lakh years ago, 40 to 50 lakh years ago, 4.4 to 1.8 million years ago. Australopithecus. They looked like humans. Okay, these people had not started using tools. There is no proof to show that they were using tools. Ardipithecus, Australopithecus ramidus is the earliest simple genus and seems to have evolved from some common ancestor of the hominid and pongid apelin in sub-Saharan Africa around 4.4 million years ago. So far, we don't have any evidence to show that Australopithecus were using any kind of tools. Tools use करने वाले सबसे पहले we have found is Homo habilis. These were the earliest representative of genus Homo. तो हम जिस जीनस के लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म है ना, उस जीनस के अर्लीस्ट रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स वर होमो हेबिलिस. Vivek Priyadarshi saying, sir, please suggest me what resource I have to follow for basic science and tech related material. Vivek, just our notes. हमने उसमें बेसिक्स पूरा कवर किया, ये तो बस हम करंट अपडेट करा रहे हैं. Whatever we have taught it from basics only. Just go through our classes, our notes. You will not need to do anything else. Class 9, class 10 का NCERT एक बार read कर लेना, because we will not be covering this in class की what is acid, what is base, what is metal, what is non-metal. तो basic चीजें आपको आनी चाहिए. We are assuming कि you know that. Other than that, everything is covered with basics in our classes only. Okay. Even for 2024, we'll be doing it. You can do it from there. There's no other good source. There are unnecessarily thick books which are useless. Unnecessary चीजें भरी हुई है. Most of the time Wikipedia से copy paste करा हुआ है. They are not up to date. They are not relevant. Okay, let's come back to this. So we were talking about humans का evolution. देखो, अभी I'm not going into anthropological details. I'm just giving you those things which are relevant for preliminary examination. तो सबसे पहले होमिनिड स्पीसीज कौन से थे? ऑस्ट्रेलोपिथेकस. अपने जीनस के स्पीसीज सबसे पहला कौन सा था? होमो हेबिलिस. होमो हेबिलिस appeared 2.8 million years ago in Kenya and Tanzania, and these were the people who were the first ones to use tools. Who we know are the first ones to use tools, stone tools. Now, they are also their tools include tools which are used to scrape flesh from carcasses. So scraping of flesh means जब एक carnivore, a large carnivore has killed a, let's say, deer. It has eaten the flesh and gone away, but still on the bone of that deer there is some flesh left. So Homo habilis used scraping tools to extract that flesh. Further, they also use this tool to crack open their marrow to eat bone marrow. एक बड़े जानवर को शेर ने मारा, एक बड़े जानवर को शेर ने मारा. Let's say lion killed a big animal. Lion will eat its meat and go away. On the bone, still some meat would be left. So scraping tool would be used for that, and then tools would be used for breaking the bones so that bone marrow could be consumed. Now, for this, what would be needed is, when carnivore is not there, then you will do all that. Right? So generally in the afternoon, carnivores are asleep because it's very hot in Africa. They're still in Africa. Humans have not come out of Africa yet. So most of this work used to happen during hot temperatures, when sun was at the top, when carnivores were resting. So in this process, what happened? We also started losing hairs. If our body is fully covered with hair, and when we'll go out in sun, it will get very hot easily. So in the process of evolution, we also started losing body hairs. Further, this was also the time जहां पे हमने क्या, we started walking up straight, so that our hands were freed for carrying these bones, which we will open and eat bone marrow from. Are we getting this? So all this was all these things were being done by Homo habilis. Australopithecus, we understand. अभी recent test में आपने कोई क्वेश्चन किए थे इस पे? समीक्षा 4 में था. अच्छा अरेंज करने को था. ओके, नाइस. नहीं, यूपीएससी प्री में भी पहले सवाल आए हुए हैं. एक डेनिस ओवंस पे सवाल आया था, तो आई थिंक 2018 या 19 में कभी आया था. तो दे कीप ऑन आस्किंग दीस थिंग्स, एंड दिस ईयर नोबेल प्राइज इन मेडिसिन had gone to this area. We want to cover next thing that, and that's why I think in current affairs before December we had covered it when Nobel Prize was given, but now let's revise it in target pre wala batch also. We'll come back to this. So we understand Australopithecus, the first hominids, Second, Homo habilis, the first one to start using tools. Then Homo erectus. They appeared in East Africa around 17 lakh years ago, 1.7 million years ago. From there, the species spread to various parts of Africa, Asia, and Europe. They were efficient hunters, and it is among Homo erectus we see for the first time what? Division of labor, where males went for hunting and women gathered plants. Earlier, this division of labor was not seen. Homo erectus. The name comes from their erect posture. Then we have Homo sapiens, who appeared only around 5 lakh years ago. So we appeared only around 5 lakh years ago. And we also appeared in Africa from around 1 lakh 30,000 years ago. There is evidence of Homo sapiens neanderthalis, a subspecies of Homo sapiens neanderthalis, in various parts of Western and Central Asia and in Europe. Whether Neanderthals got merged into Homo sapiens or whether they became extinct remains a mystery. So we think that we own this earth, but this species had only appeared 5 lakh years ago. In the 13 billion years of universe life, 4 billion years of earth's life, 3 billion years of the presence of life on earth. Life on earth started around 3 billion years ago. We have been there only for last 5 million years. Anatomically, modern humans, known as Homo sapiens, seems to have appeared in Africa around 2 lakh years ago and eventually replaced all other Homo sapiens. तो जैसे यहाँ पे Homo sapiens, Neanderthalis हैं, ये सब all of them were replaced by Homo sapiens. So this year, Nobel Prize of biology has been given for a field called paleogenetics. Now, what is paleogenetics? For that, let us understand what this Swedish scientist Svante Pääbo had done, for which he had been given Nobel Prize. So he had sequenced Neanderthal genes. But do Neanderthals live today? No, they don't. Neanderthals lived thousands of years ago. Right? So they lived in Stone Age. So using their remains, वहां से कुछ genes निकाल के we were able to sequence the gene, or this scientist was able to sequence the gene, and he thus created a new area of study called paleogenetics. For which Nobel Prize has been given. The Swedish scientist Svante Pääbo has been awarded Nobel Prize for Physiology for the year 2022 for the discoveries concerning the genomes of extinct hominins and human evolution. Through his work, he achieved something seemingly impossible. One, sequencing of genome of Neanderthals and an extinct relative of present-day humans. He also discovered previously unknown hominin, Denisova, and बाद में इसका भी gene sequence किया था. So in 2010, he published the first Neanderthal genome sequence at the Max Planck Institute in Germany. Comparative analysis demonstrated that most recent common ancestor of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens lived 8 lakh years ago. So Neanderthals and humans, they came from same ancestors. They lived 8 lakh years ago. Neanderthals themselves lived up to 40,000, 4,000. Please correct it. It is 40,000. आज से 40,000 years ago तक Neanderthals were living on Earth. His genetic analysis showed that in 2008, an interesting thing happened. He discovered fragment from a finger bone in Denisova cave. He discovered a 40,000-year-old fragment from a finger bone. एक finger bone इसे मिला, which was 40,000 years old, from this cave, Denisova. The bone contained exceptionally well-preserved DNA. Using this, Pääbo's team sequenced this DNA, and thus they identified a previously unknown hominin, humans जैसा दिखने वाला, and they gave it name Denisova. तो एग्जाम में जो क्वेश्चन आया था वो डेनिसोवा पे आया था. They gave it the name डेनिसोवा। तो डेनिसोवा केव कहां पे लोकेटेड है? साइबेरिया में, जहां पे दे डिस्कवर्ड द बोन ओनली इन 2008. वी आर ऑल बॉर्न देन, इट्स नॉट समथिंग वेरी ओल्ड. आर वी गेटिंग इट? इस बोन से उन्होंने सीक्वेंस किया एंड आइडेंटिफाइड कि एक ये नया स्पीसीज है ऑल टुगेदर विच दे कॉल्ड डेनिसोवा. एंड थ्रू ऑल दिस वर्क ही क्रिएटेड अ न्यू फील्ड ऑफ साइंस, पैलियोजिनोमिक्स. Paleogenomics. His most important contribution has been in developing research methodologies to extract DNA samples from very old remains, and thus this new field, paleogenomics. He has also shown that Homo sapiens came from Africa, they moved to Europe, Asia, Southeast Asia. यहाँ पे already Neanderthals और Denisovans रह रहे थे, and thus in humans of Europe today 1 to 2% of their gene match the gene of Neanderthals, and in humans of Southeast Asia 1 to 6% of their genes match the genes of Denisova. Fine. तो अब Denisova, habilis, Neanderthals, Australopithecus, if these things come, I hope you will be able to understand these. सत्येंद्रनाथ बोस, अभी 1 जनवरी को इनका बर्थडे था. इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट फेमस साइंटिस्ट फ्रॉम इंडिया, फिजिसिस्ट फ्रॉम इंडिया. इनका ना एक क्वेश्चन मेंस में आया था 2018 मेंस में, बोस आइंस्टाइन कंडेंसेट पे. इट वाज दिस सत्येंद्रनाथ बोस एंड उसका कंट्रीब्यूशन व्हिच कंट्रीब्यूटेड टू बोस आइंस्टाइन कंडेंसेट. So let's talk about that. Okay, I'm again repeating, भाइयों मेरा बर्थडे नहीं है आज. ये बच्चे नए आते हैं फिर मुझे विश करने लगते हैं. I was not born in, कौन सा महीना चल रहा है? मई. I was born in September भाई, है ना. आज मेरा बर्थडे नहीं है. शायद नए बच्चे आते हैं, पुराने कमेंट्स देखते हैं एंड वो भी विश कर देते हैं. नहीं है, थैंक यू फॉर योर विशेस, पर मेरा बर्थडे नहीं है. ओके. सत्येंद्रनाथ बोस. तो हु वाज सत्येंद्रनाथ बोस? एन इंडियन फिजिसिस्ट हु इज नोन फॉर हिज वर्क इन क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स. क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स हमने पढ़ा है ना. He collaborated with Albert Einstein to develop a theory called Bose-Einstein statistics. Now, what is Bose-Einstein statistics? Statistics क्या होता है? Statistics talk about how something is distributed, which describes behavior of certain types of particles that later came to be known as bosons. तो अभी हम समझेंगे what bosons are and how bosons are distributed. That is what Bose-Einstein statistics talk about. So, an Indian scientist working with Einstein is a great thing. In fact, it is in his honor certain particles have been named bosons. Paul Dirac named the particles as bosons. Do we understand bosons? आपको याद है हमने स्टैंडर्ड मॉडल ऑफ पार्टिकल फिजिक्स पढ़ा था, है ना. क्वार्क्स, लेप्टॉन्स, है ना. उसमें बोसोन्स भी थे. उसमें वेक्टर बोसोन, स्केलर बोसोन, है ना. स्केलर बोसोन में वी हैव हिग्स बोसोन, वेक्टर में वी हैड फोटॉन्स एंड अदर सच थिंग, राइट. याद है? साइंस रिवाइज कर रहे हो ना. दे कीप ऑन रिवाइजिंग. दीज न्यू थिंग्स आर नॉट मोर इंपॉर्टेंट देन फोकस फर्स्ट ऑन रिविजन. मैंने आपसे बोला था whatever you have studied till 30th April is enough for you to clear this examination if you are able to reproduce that in the examination. So please do not compromise on your revisions. Revisions are that important. Okay, let's come back to this. So let's understand Bose-Einstein statistics. Let's understand it. देखो particles है, particles of standard model of particle physics में we can divide them into fermions and bosons, right? Fermions में we had the matter particles and boson में we had force particles. Now these particles कैसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड होंगे उसके लिए देर आर 3 स्टैटिस्टिक्स. आई एम नॉट गोइंग इनटू एग्जैक्ट टेक्निकलिटीज, है ना, बिकॉज वी जस्ट हैव टू स्टडी बोस-आइंस्टाइन स्टैटिस्टिक्स थोड़ा सा. तो देर आर 3 डिफरेंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन स्टैटिस्टिक. वन इज मैक्सवेल-बोल्ट्जमैन, दूसरा बोस-आइंस्टाइन एंड तीसरा फर्मी-डिराक. Maxwell-Boltzmann statistic is applicable on particles that are identical but are distinguishable. Whereas these two are identical on particles that are identical. These two are applicable on particles that are identical but are indistinguishable. फिर से बता रहा हूं, मैक्सवेल बोल्ट्जमैन का जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन स्टैटिस्टिक है, इट इज एप्लीकेबल ऑन पार्टिकल्स विच आर identical but can be distinguished from each other. For example, if you take gases, or if you take some molecules, H2O, H2O, both are what? Identical, but they can be distinguished from each other. So how those things would be distributed? It would be it has been explained by Maxwell-Boltzmann. Whereas particles which are identical but indistinguishable, उनके लिए कौन सा स्टैटिस्टिक्स एप्लीकेबल होते हैं? ये दोनों, बोस-आइंस्टाइन स्टैटिस्टिक एंड फर्मी-डिराक. देन व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन बोस-आइंस्टाइन एंड फर्मी-डिराक स्टैटिस्टिक्स? बोस-आइंस्टाइन स्टैटिस्टिक्स टॉक अबाउट particles which are identical, indistinguishable with integer spin, whereas here you will have half integer spin. Abhi we will not go into integer spin, half integer spin. We do not want to complicate things that much. So here, like photons or liquid helium would happen at a temperature less than 4 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, helium would also satisfy this, or photons also satisfy this. Photons are identical, but they are indistinguishable with integer spin. Whereas electrons, protons, they are identical, they are indistinguishable, but they have half integer spin. If you remember, हमने जब standard model of particle physics पढ़ा था, there we spoke about their spins also. Okay. तो Bose-Einstein statistic क्या बोलता है? It says that Bose-Einstein statistic, one of the two possible ways in which collection of non-interacting indistinguishable particles may occupy a state of available discrete energy states. क्यों? क्योंकि दो ये मेथड्स, इन दोनों में से एक की बात कर रहे हैं. Aggregation of particle in the same state is a characteristic of particles obeying Bose-Einstein statistics. So what we are saying here, what we are telling here is this, कि देखो, we say that at the same energy level or at the same state, there cannot be at the same state, quantum state, how many particles can be there? Bose-Einstein statistics में all the particles can be in the same state. Bose-Einstein statistics में जो bosons हैं, they can be at the same state. तो aggregation of particles in the same state is a characteristic of particles obeying Bose-Einstein statistics. They can all be in the same state. This account for cohesive streaming of laser light. Laser light आप देखोगे, सबका same frequency, सब कुछ same रहता है, सारे photons का. They are in the same state, and the frictionless creeping of superfluid helium. Helium gas नहीं, helium जब liquid form में चला जाता है, it becomes superfluid and it becomes frictionless. That's also because of this characteristic. और ज्यादा डिटेल्स में नहीं जाएंगे, जिन लोगों को इंटरेस्ट है वो थोड़ा और पढ़ लेना. बट बोस-आइंस्टाइन कंडेंसेट, क्योंकि मेंस में पूछा जा चुका है, मेंस में दे आस्क मोर जनरल थिंग्स, प्री में दे बिकम मोर स्पेसिफिक. बट बिकॉज इट हैज बीन आस्क्ड इन मेंस एंड बिकॉज दिस person was in news recently, I briefly wanted to cover this. Now let's go to environment. Role of geomagnetism in birds migration. Several studies in the past have shown, देखो, we have seen birds migrating from far away places. बेरिंग स्ट्रेट से इंडिया आ रहा है बर्ड, या साइबेरिया से अफ्रीका जा रहा है बर्ड, राइट? विच वाज द बर्ड विच वाज गोइंग फ्रॉम साइबेरिया टू अफ्रीका एंड वो इंडिया से पास होते हुए जा रहा था? अमूर फाल्कन, राइट? नाउ दे डू नॉट हैव जीपीएस, they do not have Google map, but still they're able to go through the same route again and again. Their scientists say that a number of factors are responsible for it. First, their ability to recognize the place. जब आप बहुत ऊपर से देखोगे, देखो, when you are on earth, you can only look at a few kilometers around you. Barriers होंगे, सारी चीजें होंगी. But when you are at the top, recognition of place can be much better, right? वो hill है इतनी दूर, ये सारी चीजें. That is a factor, but they also, there is an increasing evidence that birds can actually see geomagnetic field. जो अर्थ का मैग्नेटिक फील्ड है ना, birds can actually see that and thus track that to follow the path. Birds can actually see geomagnetism. तो अभी recently there were these instances where birds were getting astray, मतलब वो अपने paths भूल जाते थे. And scientists have found how do migrating birds who traverse the same route year after year go astray. Scientists have found that this is because of the changes in geomagnetic field. Birds' ability to use geomagnetic field was hampered when there was disturbance in the magnetic field, and thus they become astray. Are we understanding this? Are we getting this? इस वजह से ये छोटा सा चीज न्यूज में था. कई बार क्या होगा ना, एग्जाम में एक स्टेटमेंट आ जाएगा कि बर्ड्स जियोमैग्नेटिज्म यूज करते हैं, तो हमने ये पढ़ा हुआ है तो हम बोल देंगे हाँ करते हैं. विल बी कॉन्फिडेंट. अदर पीपल मे बी गेसिंग इट बट विल बी कॉन्फिडेंट बिकॉज वी हैव गॉन थ्रू दिस टॉपिक. एक और छोटा सा न्यूज है, ओशन कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड रिमूवल, ओशन सीडीआर. ओशन सीडीआर, ओशन कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड रिमूवल और ओशन सीडीआर. देखो, the amount of CO2 that we have in our atmosphere, more than 50 times of that CO2 is in the ocean. So when we look at IPCC report, we see that the requirement of CO2 removal from environment is much higher. So experts feel that one of the most important or fastest way to reach the Paris Agreement target would be using oceans for storing carbon in there. Ocean carbon dioxide removal or ocean CDR. Did you understand the idea of ocean CDR? Now, ocean CDR can be done, or before we go to what can be done in future, how CO2 is stored in ocean presently. Right now, there are two mechanisms. One, CO2 gets dissolved in ocean. देखो, ocean water is salty and slightly alkaline. CO2 is acidic, so alkaline acidic can react. So one way is air dissolves into ocean surface because seawater is slightly alkaline, the CO2 is absorbed into the ocean. We know this. As CO2 increases in environment, more CO2 will be absorbed by ocean. That's one thing. But there is other mechanism which is also called biological pump. What is this biological pump? There are lots of living organisms which live in ocean, which live on the floor of the ocean or in the water table, but they come on the top to eat phytoplanktons. Algae will grow on the top, and then other animals would come, other fish would come to eat them. कुछ phytoplanktons खाने आएंगे, कुछ उन fish को खाने आएंगे, but they then go back. How was that phytoplankton produced? From CO2 in the atmosphere. Then they go back down, they die, उनका body नीचे दफन हो जाता है. Through that, what is happening? More and more CO2 is getting absorbed at the bottom. This is being called as biological pump. This is being called as biological pump. तुम्हें क्लास के बीच में ऐसे मॉइस्चराइजर लगाना है. अरे ये बैंड्रा वाले लोग ना, हाई फाई एलीट लोग, नहीं मैं है ना, मैं तो सर्दियां खत्म होने के बाद लगाया भी नहीं है कभी. मुझे क्या पता, उसमें देखो मॉइस्चराइजर की प्रॉपर्टीज भी हैं. हाँ, क्या है? बोरो प्लस. बोरो प्लस की ये गहरी दोस्ती. चलिए, let's come back to this. Did we understand the idea of biological pump? So these are two mechanisms by which CO2 is absorbed right now. Now, ocean CDR is drawing a lot of attention because this can be the fastest way of absorbing CO2, removing CO2 from atmosphere. Now, इसके लिए there are a 2022 report has suggested three most promising method. One is ocean alkalinity enhancer. देखो, ocean is alkaline, that's why it's absorbing CO2. If we can make ocean more alkaline, can it absorb more CO2? Yes, this is one method that is being suggested. Similarly, adding micronutrients to ocean surface. For example, if we add a very small amount of iron in ocean surface, the production of the algae can increase a lot, and eventually everything will settle down at the bottom of the ocean. The storage of CO2 will increase. Then another is growing kelp in the ocean. Kelp is a kind of forest of algae. ये तो एक टाइप ऑफ एल्गी होते हैं, बट नहीं प्लांट टाइप में जंगल की तरह लंबे ग्रो हो रखे होते हैं. This can be other mechanism by which we can store more CO2. But all these methods have their drawbacks. All these methods may have various uncertain, unanticipated outcomes, and thus are being researched. But CDR, ocean carbon dioxide removal, it has been in news a lot. You must understand various mechanisms, various methods which may be used there. Ladakh's fragile ecology and sixth schedule of India's constitution. अभी अपने सोनम वांगचुक जी हैं, ये 5 दिन की फास्ट पे थे बिकॉज ही वॉज डिमांडिंग दैट लद्दाख को 6th शेड्यूल में डाल दिया जाए. तो ये पॉलिटी में आपने पढ़ा है 6th शेड्यूल, है ना. डिस्ट्रिक्ट काउंसिल, रीजनल काउंसिल, यू अंडरस्टैंड देयर ऑटोनॉमी दैट दे हैव, you understand those things, है ना. That is given so that you have a lot of control. The local people have a lot of control over the way of life there, the laws there, how outsiders would be managed there, and so on. Fine. तो ठीक है, उसके लिए they want कि because ecology of Ladakh is very fragile. They want कि the local people should be able to have a lot of say there, and that's why they are demanding the status. Glaciers are melting, cold deserts of Ladakh are extremely sensitive to climate change, and thus they are demanding this thing कि उन्हें 6th शेड्यूल में ऐड कर दिया जाए. Parliamentary Standing Committee on State also recommended the same, but the Home Ministry said in December 2022 that the main objective of including tribal population under 5th, 6th schedule is to ensure their overall socio-economic development, which the UT administration is already doing. We are taking care of. They're saying कि UT administration is already taking care of the overall development of Ladakh, and thus they don't need to go for it. That's why the protest and all these things are happening. Okay. Geography की कुछ चीजें हैं. एक है polymetallic nodules. Let's understand this. Then we'll go about deep sea mining वाला topic. First, what are polymetallic nodules? If you go to the deeper portion of ocean, over the years, a lot of sediments have got deposited there, and a lot of nodules, जैसे ना आलू के शेप में nodules are deposited there. Those nodules are very rich in metals. These are called polymetallic nodules. So what are these? These are small rounded accretion found on sea floor composed of various metals. They're found on the sea floor, and these nodules are consisting of various metals. अभी तक इनका mining नहीं हो रहा है, but there's a demand for deep sea mining which is going on. They typically consist of which are these polymetallic nodules. What do they contain? They contain manganese, they contain nickel, cobalt, copper, traces of other elements such as iron and zinc. These nodules form over millions of years through a slow process known as sedimentation, where layers of metal-rich sediments accumulate around a central nucleus such as shell fragment or shark tooth. So on a small fragment, over the years, sediment of metal-rich things will keep getting deposited, and this is how these polymetallic nodules are formed. And they are found in the abyssal plains. क्या होता है? deep वाला, deep plains in the particularly in areas of Pacific, Indian, Atlantic Ocean. They are considered a valuable potential resource due to their high metallic content. Mining these nodules has been proposed as a means to extract valuable metals, but this mining has not started. But now यहाँ पे April 2023 में और March 2023 में some development have taken place which may allow deep sea mining of polymetallic nodules from July. अच्छा, अब ये बताओ, deep sea mining करनी है, which is the authority which will approve it? International Seabed Authority under UN Convention on Law of Seas, which was created through UN Convention on Law of Seas. Okay. Sir, I got 90 in अभ्यास 3. Good, getting a bit. देखो यार, जो अभ्यास के पेपर है मैंने आपको इसलिए करने को मना किया था कि they are very very difficult. जो अपने last year students थे who in preliminary examination, who cleared preliminary examination easily, who scored in 110, 120 in preliminary examination, दे वर स्कोरिंग 50-60 अभ्यास पेपर, तो आपको डिमोटिवेट डिस्करेज कर देता है, इसलिए मैंने करने को मना किया है. बट इफ यू हैव स्कोर्ड 90, इट शोज दैट यू विल डू वेल देयर. देखो, इफ विदाउट गोइंग थ्रू देयर मटेरियल यू आर स्कोरिंग 60-70, दैट्स अ वेरी गुड स्कोर. अगर आपने अभ्यास का जो इंस्टीट्यूशन करा रहा है उसका मटेरियल नहीं पढ़ाया और फिर 60-70 भी स्कोर कर रहे हो, दैट्स अ वेरी गुड स्कोर, बिकॉज यूपीएससी इज नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम देयर मटेरियल. इफ राइट, चलिए लेट्स कम बैक टू दिस डीप सी माइनिंग. क्लास के बीच में ना कुछ भी मत पूछ लिया करो. हमारा फोकस पूरा टूट जाता है. तुम क्लास में होते भी हो तो मैं मुर्गा बना देता. ऑनलाइन वाले बच्चे कुछ भी पूछ लेते ना. डीप सी माइनिंग, अभी इंटरनेशनल सीबेड अथॉरिटी का 2 वीक नेगोशिएशन चला है एंड दे हैव डिसाइडेड कंपनीज कैन अप्लाई फ्रॉम जुलाई टू माइन ओशन. From July, companies will be able to apply to mine ocean floor, but environmental groups are opposing it for obvious reasons. So let us understand this issue of deep sea mining. Deep sea mining क्यों जरूरी है, क्यों important है? Because there is increasing demand for metals, especially for transitioning energy sector. हमें रेयर अर्थ मिनरल्स चाहिए, हमें कॉपर और निकल चाहिए बैटरी के लिए, हमें कोबाल्ट चाहिए इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स के लिए, हमें मैंगनीज चाहिए स्टील प्रोडक्शन के लिए, एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कंपोनेंट. वी विल स्टडी अबाउट रेयर अर्थ मिनरल्स इन सम टाइम्स एंड वी वुड टॉक अबाउट वी विल सी दैट इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कंपोनेंट्स में दे प्ले एन इंपॉर्टेंट रोल. एंड according to International Energy Agency, if we want to achieve the targets of Paris Agreement, 5 times as much lithium and 4 times as much cobalt would be needed by 2030. अगर आपको सच में ट्रांजिशन होना है, नेट जीरो पे जाना है, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी पे ट्रांजिशन होना है, वी विल नीड अ लॉट ऑफ दीज मेटल्स. एंड दस अभी मेटल लैंड वगैरह से एक्सट्रैक्ट करना तो डिफिकल्ट, इट्स बिकमिंग मोर एंड मोर स्कार्स एंड मोर डिफिकल्ट. तो इट इज इमर्जिंग एज एन इंपॉर्टेंट solution. Seabed mining is emerging as an important solution. Here, manganese nodules, which are also called polymetallic nodules, अभी हमने पढ़ा था polymetallic nodules, are driving rush to mine seabeds. These potato-sized lumps contain proportion of nickel, copper, manganese, some rare earth metals also, and some other valuable metals also. Please note that manganese nodules are not yet being mined anywhere in the world. This could soon change as they practically lie directly on the seabed and can be easily extracted without breaking up rock layers or eroding the seabed, because they are lying on the seabed. So this could change, and अभी हमने देखा International Seabed Authority may start allowing companies after July to start mining this. तो which are the places जहां पे माइनिंग शुरू हो सकती है या जहां पे बहुत सारे पॉलीमेटालिक नोड्यूल है? तो देयर इज दिस क्लैरियन क्लिपर्टन जोन, ये हवाई के पास है, यूएस और हवाई के बीच में. देयर इज दिस रीजन. द बेस्ट स्टडीड एरिया इज करंटली द सीबेड between 3500 to 5500 meter in the Clarion Clipperton zone in the Eastern Pacific Ocean near the US state of Hawaii. Do we understand? मैप में आप इमेजिन कर पा रहे हो हवाई कहां है? Okay. Spanning thousands of kilometers, the area contains more nickel, manganese and cobalt than any known area on land. It contains more of this. The basin in the Central Indian Ocean and the seabed of the Cook Island, Kiribati atolls and French Polynesia in the South Pacific may also be rich in these nodules. तो arguments for supporting deep sea mining में एक है resources, हमने a lot of metal resources are there. Second, it will be less damaging to environment. जब आप rare earth metal, जब आप ये metals land से extract कर रहे हो, you go for digging, you go for mining, you do a lot of damage there. You just literally have to just pick it up. Polymetallic nodules, you have to pick it up from the surface of the ocean, and thus greenhouse gas emission would also be much lesser. Mining में you'll need a lot of energy. Here, energy requirement would be 80% lesser. Then they also say that it will support energy transition. It will support our transition to renewable energy. It will barely affect carbon reservoirs like forest and soil. When we go for mining on land, we cut forest and all, so carbon reservoirs get affected. Then they also say that deep sea mining would be automated. अब 5000 मीटर के डिस्टेंस पे humans will not be going. They will be facing tremendous, because it will be automated, तो human rights violation की problems नहीं होंगी. जैसे अभी cobalt miners including children in Congo face a lot of exploitation. and Congo produces most of the cobalt in the world. So those kind of things would not be happening. These are the arguments to support it, but to criticize it also there are a number of issues. They say that in mining huge vacuum pumps will be used. आप mine कैसे करोगे? You will be putting in vacuum pumps which will suck those nodules. Now when those nodules would be sucked, polymetallic nodules would be sucked, a lot of other vegetation and other life form would also be sucked. That will get destroyed. These organisms may all, now the organisms which are living on seabed may be using these polymetallic nodules. है ना, इनको nutrients उससे मिल रहा होगा, and now to form these polymetallic nodules millions of years would take. So what would happen once you remove those polymetallic nodules? You do not know how the life form there may get impacted, and for this reason there is opposition. International Seabed Authority so far has not awarded any polymetallic nodule mining project, but it has awarded 31 exploration contracts worldwide, but none of them are from commercial mining activities. But March 2023 conference mein they have said ki by July they will be able to adopt the code under which the mining may take place, and after that companies may start applying for deep sea mining. I hope deep sea mining वाला aspect समझ में आया सबको? फाइन. डीप सी देखो मेंस के टाइम तो इसका मेंस का सवाल बनेगा, बट प्रीलिम्स के टाइम कौन से प्लेस में है ये मेटालिक नोड्यूल्स, इंटरनेशनल सीबेड अथॉरिटी, क्वेश्चंस रिलेटेड टू दीस हैव बीन आस्क्ड एंड मे गेट आस्क्ड अगेन इन फ्यूचर. आर वी अंडरस्टैंडिंग दिस? आर वी गेटिंग दिस? समझ में आ रही है चीजें? ओके, लेट्स नाउ गो टू रेयर अर्थ मेटल्स. रेयर अर्थ मेटल्स, देखो रेयर अर्थ मेटल्स आर अ ग्रुप ऑफ 17 मेटल्स. ये जो हाईलाइटेड है ना अलग कलर में, देयर इज यट्रियम 39 and 15 of lanthanide series. Lanthanide series में you have lanthanum, cerium, praseodymium, neodymium, this praseodymium, neodymium, and so on. Some sources also include scandium in the definition of rare earth metal. तो total 17 हो जाते हैं. Scandium is found in most rare earth element deposit and is sometimes classified as rare earth element. International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry includes scandium in their rare earth element definition. So these are the 17 elements which are considered rare earth elements or rare earth metals. These metals have a lot of similar properties, and thus they generally are found together in geological deposits. Their use is highly prevalent. For example, electronic devices may, like developing electronic devices may not be feasible without these rare earth metals. For example, neodymium is a critical component of permanent magnet and has the ability to carry 1300 times its own weight. Europium is necessary for LED bulbs and color television. Samarium is used for optical lasers. Batteries of electric and hybrid electric batteries may further depend on many of these things. Rare earth are also used in catalyst, phosphors, polishing compounds. These are used for air pollution control, illuminated screens on electronic devices. Emerging medical technologies are using rare earth metals. Defense uses हैं इसके in electronic, a lot of electronics we use in defense. There also rare earth elements may be used. So it is clear that it's a sunrise sector में और ये new technology sector में rare earth metals are highly crucial, highly important. Now, are they rare? So देखो, though they are called rare earth metal, they are not very rare. They are pretty well distributed in our crust. But होता क्या है ना? These metals are very difficult to mine because it is unusual to find them in concentration high enough for economic extraction. They are found. आप इंडिया में भी जाओगे, in lots of places you will be able to find these metals, but उनका concentration इतना ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. So when you will mine it, you will get very small amount of rare earth metal, and thus they would not be viable. Before 1965, because electronics was not that common thing, its demand was also very less. Supply mostly came from placer deposits in India and Brazil. 1950s में साउथ अफ्रीका was a leading supplier, US also was producing. First explosion of demand happened because of color television. Color television used European to produce color. US became leading producer from the mountain pass of California. China began to produce notable amount in 1980s. When China went towards electronics revolution, it started producing rare earth metals. Why was China able to become world leader of rare earth metal? By 2010-11, China was producing more than 90% of rare earth metal. It was able to become world leader because it had long-term view and consistent support from government. Mineral was available in China. China has the largest rare earth metal deposits. Weak environmental laws there. Cheap production. Closure of mines in other parts of the world because of cheaper production here. So China ka market coverage kept on increasing, and then huge demand in China as China was the world leader in consumer electronics production. For these reasons, China was able to increase the production of rare earth metals, but in 2010-11, they put certain restriction on export, and the prices of rare earth metals increased by 6-7% or 6-7 times. This made the world realize just depending on China may be a big problem. And since then, till that time, 90% of the production of rare earth metal was coming from China. After aggressive production by the US, Australia and Canada, China's share has come down to 60%. Most of the Western countries have now started following this China plus one strategy, where for whatever things that they're dependent on China, they are also looking for an opportunity somewhere else. China plus one strategy, so that China is not able to blackmail them in future. US ने एक इनिशिएटिव भी लॉन्च किया है 11 नेशंस के साथ, मिनरल सिक्योरिटी पार्टनरशिप. India is not part of this mineral security partnership. What will this mineral security partnership do? It has these 11 members. It is aimed at catalyzing investment from governments and private sectors to develop strategic opportunities. The alliance is seen as a primary focused on evolving alternative to China, which has created processing infrastructure in rare earth minerals and has acquired mines in Africa for elements such as cobalt. India, most of the rare earth metal India कहाँ से क्या लेता है? India mostly imports it. Interestingly, India has the 4th largest reserves of rare earth metal, but still India is not extracting it. India is mostly importing its rare earth metals. Why is this the case? It's because, one, in India, rare earth metals are classified as atomic minerals. और atomic minerals पे बहुत सारे restrictions हैं. Only government agencies could mine it. Now, are rare earth metals really radioactive and atomic? So no, they are not. But they are found together with thorium and uranium, and thus they have been classified as atomic minerals. So private sector mining or other government agencies which are not authorized are not able to work towards extracting rare earth metal. तो rare earth metal mining की responsibility इंडिया में दो ही कंपनीज के पास है. India Rare Earth Limited, which is owned by Government of India, and Kerala Minerals and Metals Limited, which is owned by Kerala government. Now, एक और reason why we are not able to produce enough rare earth metal is India Rare Earth Limited जो है, it gets most of its income from production of other minerals contained in beach sand like ilmenite, sillimanite and zircon. Because they are able to produce a lot of it, they are not focused on rare earth metals, and that's not happening. Then there are other aspects also, research and development का कमी, human resource का कमी. We would study those things in mains examination. Prelims के लिए इतना ही relevant है. We'll only be doing this. Okay, now El Nino and La Nina, ये पढ़ा हुआ है आपने? Do I need to cover it? चलिए मैं cover नहीं करूंगा, but please remember now we have come to the neutral phase of it. El Nino sudden oscillation होता है, उसमें El Nino, La Nina, तो अभी हम 3 साल से we were in La Nina phase. Now we have come to the neutral phase. Neutral phase में भी monsoon would be okay, but it is expected that from July we'll go to El Nino phase, and there in the second part of the monsoon we may suffer, the rainfall may get affected here. Fine. अभी April में news में था तो I had included it because of this, but I'll skip it because you already know all this. Places in news. अभी देखो, एक तो ये जापान न्यूज में था बिकॉज ऑफ व्हाट, फुकुशिमा की वजह से. तो जापान के बारे में ये देख ही लेते हैं कि इन दिस साइड वी हैव पैसिफिक ओशन, ऑन दिस साइड वी हैव सी ऑफ जापान, नीचे आओगे तो ईस्ट चाइना सी है. जापान, मोस्ट ऑफ द लैंड एरिया ऑफ जापान कैन बी डिवाइडेड इनटू 4 आइलैंड्स. वन होकाइडो, दूसरा ये वाला होन्शु, this one, this is the biggest island, Honshu Island, then Shikoku and then Kyushu. These are the 4 islands. यहां पे लिखा है होकाइडो, होन्शु, शिकोकू एंड क्यूशु. इसमें सबसे बड़ा कौन सा है? होन्शु. इट इज हेयर टोक्यो इज लोकेटेड, इट इज हेयर माउंट फूजी इज लोकेटेड, इट इज हेयर वो फुकुशिमा वाज लोकेटेड. Everything was found here. Then Honshu is the largest of the 4 islands and Tokyo भी यहीं located, Mount Fuji भी यहीं located है. There are some important straits that we must know about. If you come here, you see this island, Tsushima Island. इस तरफ we have South Korea, इस तरफ we have Japan. बीच में there is this small island called Tsushima Island. अब आइलैंड के इस तरफ भी एक स्ट्रेट है, इस तरफ भी एक स्ट्रेट है. दिस स्ट्रेट इज कॉल्ड कोरिया स्ट्रेट एंड दिस स्ट्रेट इज कॉल्ड Tsushima स्ट्रेट. कोरिया स्ट्रेट एंड Tsushima स्ट्रेट. तो here if you come, the island of Tsushima defines Korean strait on the Korea side and Tsushima strait on the Japanese side. Then there is this Tsugaru strait. Tsugaru strait ना आपको यहां दिखेगा. Can you see this? Sea of Japan and Pacific Ocean को जोड़ता हुआ यहाँ पे you have Tsugaru Strait and this tunnel, Seiken Tunnel, a famous one, Seiken Tunnel located here. Some islands, some important islands. Kuril Island. अब Kuril Island ऊपर है, रशिया ने ऑक्यूपाई कर रखा है. You see this Kuril Island? 1945 से रशिया ने ऑक्यूपाई करके रखा. पहले यूएसएसआर ने, फिर रशिया ने. जापान claims it. तो जापान और रशिया के बीच में भी there is tension because of Kuril Island. Then we have Tok Island, occupied by South Korea. It's also claimed by Japan. There is Senkaku Island. Senkaku Island के लिए तो मैंने अलग से ये देखिए. Here we have Senkaku Island. ये जापान का एक्सटेंशन है. Ryukyu Island. यहाँ पे Senkaku Island है. Senkaku Island is claimed by China, Republic of China, Taiwan, and Japan also. Last year there was a question on Senkaku Island. देखो सेनकाकू आइलैंड की हमने बात करी, ये कुरिल आइलैंड, these things we had not covered in when we were doing मैपिंग वाला सेक्शन, तो we are doing it here. फुकुशिमा इस सबसे बड़े वाले आइलैंड पे यहाँ लोकेटेड है. इसको ध्यान रखिए. रॉकी माउंटेन्स. अभी देयर वाज दिस न्यूज दैट रॉकी माउंटेन्स, द फॉरेस्ट फायर दैट इट इज फेसिंग इज द बिगेस्ट फॉरेस्ट फायर दैट इट हैज फेस्ड इन 2000 years. ओके, तो वेयर इज रॉकी माउंटेन लोकेटेड? ये देखिए नॉर्दर्न अमेरिका के वेस्टर्न कोस्ट पे, तो वेस्टर्न साइड पे है. it covers a distance of 4800 kilometers and is the largest mountain range of North America. They extend from northernmost portion of Western Canada to the state of New Mexico in southwest USA. The mountain system is a complex mix of fold mountain, so it is fold mountain. Some portion of it is fault block mountain and some are produced by volcanic activities as well. Rocky Mountains. But ये हमारे लिए important नहीं है. हमारे लिए important क्या है? अभी we said that the largest forest fires ever in last 2000 years are happening in Rockies now. How do we know that? How do scientists get to know that? 2000 year पहले का तो रिकॉर्ड भी नहीं है. How do scientists get to know that? Scientists get to know that using sediments preserved in lakes. Now what happens is, देखो, let's say Rockies में there are a few lakes, few large lakes which have been there for thousands of years. Now when forest fire would occur, a lot of charcoal would be released. It will get deposited in water and will eventually go on to the bottom. है ना? Over the years और sediments आएंगे, फिर फॉरेस्ट फायर होगा, चारकोल आएगा, सेडिमेंट्स आएंगे एंड सो ऑन. So when you put in a cylindrical thing there and bring out the sediments from there, you will be able to see layers. ये चारकोल यहाँ पे इतना सारा है, यहाँ पे इतना थोड़ा सा है, यहाँ इतना सारा है. प्लस उस लेयर से यू कैन ऑल्सो गेट रिमेन्स ऑफ लीव्स एंड ट्विग्स, उसका कार्बन डेटिंग से यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई ऑफ विच टाइम दिस चारकोल इज, that can help you understand when did this fire occur, when did this fire occur. Then you can go through the pollen grains may also get deposited there. Through that you can identify which were the trees which used to grow at that time. So through this scientists are able to determine the biggest forest fires in Rockies in last 2000 years have happened recently in the recent situation. Are we getting this? तो Rockies, forest fires को कैसे आइडेंटिफाई किया जाता है, ये सारी चीजें यहाँ पे हैं. ये लेक मीड ना, एक्चुअली इट्स माय फॉल्ट, इट वाज देयर इन द ओरिजिनल नोट्स व्हिच आई हैड प्रिपेयर्ड, बट आपको मैपिंग की क्लास कराते टाइम समहाउ ये मिस हो गया था, लेक मीड. तो वी वांट टू कवर दिस लेक मीड. अब देखिए, नासा रिलीजेस न्यू पिक्चर्स दैट रिवील scale of decline in Lake Mead's water level. Come here. You see, 2000 Lake Mead, 2021 यहां तक था, 2022 और कम हो गया. Can you see that? Can you see that? Water level is declining. सर वो इंडिया की मैम वाले लेक्चर भाई ऑलरेडी डाल दिए हैं, 2 ही लेक्चर्स हैं, हमने वो दोनों डाल दिए हैं. मैम ने 2 ही लेक्चर्स लिए. और अच्छा देखो यार, वो ना फिर हमें ज्योग्राफी की सारी क्लासेस डालनी पड़ेंगी, हर क्लास में थोड़ा करके पढ़ाया. अलग से इंडिया की मैपिंग क्लासेस मैम ने नहीं ली है, अलग से जो 2 ली थी वो हमने 2 डाल दी हैं. ठीक है, लेट्स कम बैक टू दिस लेक मीड वाली बात समझ. देखो ऐसे ना एग्जाम में पास्ट में सवाल आए हैं कि कौन सा लेक एकदम सूखता जा रहा है इस तरह के, तो लेक मीड इज वन ऑफ द लेक्स विच वी जस्ट सॉ that it's drying up. 21 साल बाद, 1 साल बाद the numbers are lesser. तो where is this Lake Mead located? It's one of the largest reservoirs in USA. It's formed by Hoover Dam on Colorado River. So Lake Mead is a reservoir formed by Hoover Dam on Colorado River. आप इसका लोकेशन देखिए, यहां पे देखो, नेवाडा स्टेट है, एरिजोना स्टेट है, कैलिफोर्निया स्टेट है, तीनों के लगभग ट्रायंगल पे. तो इट straddles एरिजोना, नेवाडा एंड इज वन ऑफ द प्राइमरी सोर्स ऑफ वाटर फॉर कैलिफोर्निया, एरिजोना एंड नेवाडा. तो थोड़ा सा बड़ा करते हैं इसे. कम here we have Lake Mead. तो the lake as such is not going to California, but it is an important source of water for California. Lake as such is Nevada और Arizona में है. तो chances that this would be asked would be less. बस ये भी बताओ ना कि Lake Mead is in USA. On which river it is? The right, Colorado River. On which side it is? This would be enough. तो I'll still go through like कल I'll take a 1 hour class जिसमें मैं डिफेंस वाला अपडेट आपका नहीं हो पाया ना, डिफेंस वाला करेंगे. सैटरडे संडे वी आर डूइंग इकोनॉमी का RTFQ. वी हैव ऑलरेडी डन 100 क्वेश्चंस ऑफ इकोनॉमी, है ना. तो जो बैंकिंग वगैरह की छोटी मोटी चीजें रहेगी ना, वो मैं RTFQ के थ्रू अच्छे से आपको करा दूंगा. इकोनॉमी RTFQ वुड बी अ बिट स्लो अनलाइक एनवायरमेंट, बिकॉज एनवायरमेंट में वी हैड स्टडीड एवरीथिंग. इकोनॉमी में वी हैव डन करंट अफेयर्स. वी हैव नॉट, लाइक इन करंट अफेयर्स प्रोग्राम वी डोंट कवर बेसिक्स. तो इफ यू विल हैव एनी डाउट्स वी विल टेक केयर ऑफ इट. Okay, so economy RTFQ would be in a way revising your basic concepts also in a systematic manner. जैसे आपने देखा होगा first RTFQ of economy for 100 questions only we took around 3 hours or so. It was because अच्छा okay, हाँ तो जो भी है it took us some time because we were understanding every concept. That is something that we'll do. तो कल हम will take 1 hour का क्लास जहाँ पे प्राइमरी डिफेंस का अपडेट और एक ना नोबेल प्राइज केमिस्ट्री वाला क्लिक केमिस्ट्री रह गया है, वो 2 चीजें हम करेंगे अदर देन सम मिसलेनियस थिंग्स. फाइन, थैंक यू वेरी मच. जो ऑनलाइन वाले बच्चे हैं सब लोग लाइक कर देना यार वीडियो को, मेरे लाइक्स बहुत कम हो गए आजकल. थैंक यू वेरी मच.